Everyone knows Dungeons has 5 classes: Mage, Berserker, Tank, Archer, and Healer. But the Dungeon community is actually made up of 6th class that's currently the most powerful and highest damage dealing ability in the game. While the title says triple your damage, what if we were to do, say, 800% your damage? Sound good? Perfect. Before I explain, I'm less than 6,000 subscribers from Hypixel YouTube rank. If you could take literally 2 seconds to subscribe, it will change my life. Around 60% of you watching right now aren't subscribed, and if just this one time, alright listen, just once, if every single person subscribed, I will be at 30,000 subscribers overnight. It's completely free, and since, let's be honest, YouTube's recommended section is whack anyways, your life will literally have no difference if you subscribe. So help me out, and let's do some infinite damage. I'll split this video up into 2 parts. The first half is going to be how to build this class, how to get this 800% damage we're looking to deal, and the second half will be pretty much the end of a dungeon run, where I'll actually be dealing this much damage, and kind of just show you that it's actually possible. So if you kind of like grab the little time bar in the video on the bottom and scroll it, you'll be able to see 2 chapters of the video. The first is just going to be the first half, how to do it, and the second one's going to be a dungeon run. So without wasting any more time, because I've already talked a long time, let's get into how to actually build this class. So what is this magnificent class? Well, if you go to your dungeoneering page and go to Mage, it is going to be a subclass of Mage that we like to call left-click Mage. The dungeon community decided to split up Mage into 2 different classes. You have your standard Mage that uses abilities like the Spirit Scepter, the Midas Staff, and so on, and the left-click Mage, which primarily uses things like swords in order to click and actually deal damage. This is because mages actually have a 15 block reach where they can attack enemies. If I turned my particles on, you would see a little beam. And that beam can reach 15 blocks and attack enemies for full damage. After that, the damage decreases significantly. But the most amazing thing about this subclass is the Mage Staff ability. The more mana you have, the more percent your melee damage actually deals. Around 1500 mana, your melee damage will be dealing a full 100%. But if you were to have, say, 7000 mana, you'll be dealing upwards of 600 to 700% damage. And we can abuse this combined with some good talisman reforges for damage to do a ridiculous amount of damage that's never before possible on Skyblock. So let's get into how to build a left-click Mage. Here's what you're gonna need in order to build this class correctly. I would recommend a full set of either legendary or mythic, if you can afford it, armor. And make sure it's reforged to necrotic. If you're having problems surviving, you can of course put giant on it. But if you want maximum damage, you're going to want to put necrotic on your armor. This is because armor gets multiplied the most by your dungeon level, so you're going to want to have as much mana on your armor as possible. This will be so you have as much mana and intelligence in dungeons as you physically can get, since the more stats you have, the better blessings actually work on you. So once your armors are forged to necrotic, you're going to want to get a good sword. I'm talking like a livid dagger, mythic, make it as perfectly good as you can. I put Feeding Potato Books on mine. That's a little bit absurd, but if you want the maximum damage, you're gonna need it. So slap whatever you can afford onto your sword, make sure it's as high damage dealing as possible. Then for talismans, it's pretty simple. Go with the standard DPS build. If you don't know what that is, I'll leave a link to the card in the top right of the video, and it'll teach you the best reforges for all of talismans. And I'll give an example at the very start of that video of what the DPS reforge is, but essentially it's forceful on your legendaries and mythics, and shaded on the rest of your talismans. So make sure you do that, since you'll be needing to deal a ton of damage as well as having maximum amounts of mana. For a pet, there's 3 very good choices. You have your legendary Ender Dragon, obviously. You can have an uncommon Griffin pet like this one because it gives you a ton of regeneration and strength, which is very useful for dealing more damage. And finally, you can have a legendary Wither Skeleton, especially for the upcoming Floor 7. We're going to have a Wither boss, meaning the Death's Touch ability and the Wither Blood will be extremely useful for fighting the boss. Last up, and while this isn't required, I highly recommend it, and that's to get an Ice Spray Wand. You'll see in this next click me using the Ice Spray Wand a lot because it freezes enemies, making them significantly easier to hit. However, you can also solve this problem by just getting good and not being terrible at Minecraft like I am. Anyways, let's go into dungeons and let me show you this overpowered stats. So if we look at a mini-boss here, if I freeze it and I'm backstabbing it, I'm able to do about 100,000 damage to this dude pretty consistently. Sometimes I get over to 200,000 if I get a backstab, which is pretty good. And we can pretty much just freeze him like this and get infinite backstabs on him, which is really nice, and which is why I always recommend having the Ice Spray Wand if you're going to go for a left-click Mage. But as you can see, we're actually doing a really good amount of damage. If I get some backstabs on this guy, that was 700k. If I get a backstab on a zombie, it's 1.2 mil. So if I show you my stats real quick here, if you go to mage, you'll see that I'm currently dealing 371% of my melee damage. This is a huge advantage over Berserker, who does get a small buff to their melee damage. It's nowhere near this. I can freeze a Shadow Assassin. If I click a little bit faster, it might be a little bit loud. You'll be able to see that I'm dealing a considerable amount of damage, and I'm able to shoot through my own teammates as well. If I do this, you'll see that I'm able to attack him through the wall, or not through the wall, but for my own teammate. And it's really good for taking out many bosses. So as you can see, I'm doing about almost 1 million damage to things like zombies and stuff. And compared to the Midas Staff, which is not currently starred, it's a little bit better than a non-starred Midas Staff. So I wouldn't recommend doing this for something like room clearing, but if you're looking to take out mini bosses and bosses, this is the absolute way to go for the most amount of damage right now. I will say that this class gets significantly better at Catacombs 26 and 29 when you're able to use things like the Tarantula Helmet. You'll see I actually have if I go to my wardrobe, I have a pre-prepared 5-star Tarantula Helmet because of how absurd this is. This class doesn't do too much damage before Catacombs 26. You'll be able to see that, I mean, I'm doing a decent amount of damage right now. But once you're actually able to use things like a Tarantula Helmet or Shadow Assassin armor, you're going to be dealing a significantly more amount of damage than if you're going to be using something like Necromancer Lord like I am. So this is actually one of the lowest amount of damages left-click mage can deal. But nonetheless, I need to use its armor to survive, so it's perfectly valid. But as you see, as I collect more mana, this percentage goes up. Now we're currently at, I think we're still at the same amount, because I thought we got another Blessing of Wisdom, but you want to look out for the Blessing of Wisdoms, as that's what's going to make you do as much damage as possible. So we got Blessing of Life and Power right there, so that doesn't help us too much, but I want to see if we can get another Blessing of Wisdom, maybe from that purple puzzle on the top of the map right there. But you'll see I'm able to kind of shred through zombie commanders and stuff if I'm able to hit them. Again, I would recommend something like Freezing a Zealots, and you can one-tap them. I'm doing well over 1 million damage right now, which is absolutely crazy. I personally can't wait to get to Catacombs 26 to be able to do even more damage than this. But if you do this build correctly, you're able to do a ridiculous amount of damage. I can 2-shot the tank zombies, pretty much 1-shot anything else that I'd like. You just freeze them, hit them with your sword, and you're good to go. So now we're able to fight the giants, and I'm currently dealing about 400,000 damage to the giants right here. And if I go ahead and try and aim for the back, hold on, there's a golem here. I want to try to fight the, someone killed the golem, that's fine. I'm going to try and get some backstabs on the giants here. There we go. I'm dealing about 500,000 to 600,000 damage from backstabs to the giants, which is pretty crazy. Let me throw my dragon on real quick. There we go, we got our dragon on. Now we're dealing, I'm trying to see here. We're doing about the same amount of damage. Since I don't have enough mana, we're dealing still about 500,000 damage. Let me go and start attacking some of the golems. We do about 1 million damage to the golems, which is kind of ridiculous. So let's stand up here, and I'm going to be clicking real fast again, but we're dealing about 1 million damage to the golems, as you can see, which is really good for not even having a Tarantula Helmet or anything. So you can really see just how powerful this class will end up being once we're Catacombs 26, and I highly recommend if you're playing mage to start aiming towards doing this. Don't just drop everything and get a sword and stuff, but start setting it as like a priority to try and work on getting some of this gear. Yeah, we do what, like 280,000 damage this is on or something? Is that me doing 400,000 or is that someone else? You can't really tell at this point. But we were able to see from the golems and stuff that we were doing really good damage, so I imagine we're dealing some pretty good damage to Sidon as well. But that's really it for the left-click mage. There are some great guides out there on how to... Yeah, someone went in, but no, we weren't even close to being done. There's some great guides on further explanations on the left-click mage class going more in depth. But there's my really take on it. I highly recommend everyone goes and start using left-click mage if you are something like a regular mage or a berserker, because you'll do way more damage. You'll triple, quadruple, pentuple, octuple. I don't know what 9 is, but I'm sure it's a cool number. But that's really just about it. We were able to get roughly 400% extra damage at the end. I lost a clip of me checking that, obviously, because, well, someone decided to go in early. But, anyways, that's just about it for today's video. So if you did enjoy today's episode, then please do drop a like on the video. Also, please subscribe. If you made it to the end, it must have been at least somewhat entertaining. And again, if you subscribe, your life will not change at all. All it does is help me out a ton. We're so close to 30,000, so if you could just do it once, this one time, alright, man? Alright, just once. And I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, take care.